Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today I'd like to take a look at this game right here that I have talked about for a long time, for at least, I think, 6 years, because I picked this up about 6 years ago when I was living in Martinez, California, and I have not been disappointed with it ever since. I picked it up on a recommendation, almost a blind buy, because I had never played it before, but somebody said, hey, it's cool, check it out. So I bought it, and I've never looked back. It's a neat little blind bidding auction game where there's some area influence thrown in there. Let's take a look at it, see what you think. Now, Revolution is a 3 to 4 player game with its base set. If you want to play with more players, you have to buy a 5 to 6 player expansion, but we'll talk about that in just a few moments. Here I have a 3 player game set up for you, and generally speaking, the whole point of Revolution is to gain the most support. Support is what this game calls its victory points, and you have the support track that goes around the outside of the board. Now, the way you gain support is by influencing these different places on the board. You see that the board has a whole bunch of white squares on them, and that is where your cubes are going to be placed. That means you have 1 influence in the town hall. This means you have 1 influence in the harbor. This means you have 1 influence in the fortress, and so forth and so on. Basically, the game is going to progress using a blind bidding auction, and we'll get to that in just a moment. The game is going to progress until every white square on the board is filled with an influence cube. When that last box is filled in with an influence cube, the game is over and points are tallied. So basically what that means is that whoever has the most support cubes or influence cubes in the fortress is going to gain 50 support. Whoever has the most in the cathedral will gain 35 support. Now, this isn't a majority thing. It's whoever has the most cubes. All right, so there is a slight difference there. I think you'll understand it. Now, how do we influence those buildings? How do we place those influence cubes out there? Let me show you. Behind your shield, you're going to have a board that looks like this, and it has listed different individuals within the town that you can influence in different ways. The currency of Revolution is gold, force, or blackmail. Gold, force, or blackmail, shown right here. Gold, force, and blackmail. Those spaces on this board that are red cannot be influenced by force. The dark boxes cannot be influenced by blackmail, and any spot on the board can be influenced by gold. All right, and then there are some that can only be influenced by gold, such as the rogue and the mercenary. On a person's turn, which this is all done simultaneously, they will take the influence tokens that they have at the beginning of the game. Everybody starts with 3 gold, 1 force, and 1 blackmail, and we are going to use that to influence these different people on the board. If you look at the screen here, it tells you that force always beats any amount of blackmail or gold. So 1 force token will beat 20 blackmails and 20 golds. Blackmail will always beat any amount of gold. So gold is the lowest rung on the ladder, so to speak. Force is the top of the food chain. Now, secretly behind their shield, they're going to assign what kind of influence they're going to put on each person that's here. Now, of course, you can't influence everybody. You don't have enough. So you do have to pick and choose, but you do have to use all of your influence every turn. So that's something to think about. So the green player here determines that, well, let's see, I think I want to, I think I might want to gain some control of the harbor, and then, you know what, getting 10 points isn't a bad thing. We're going to go there with some force and some gold, sweeten the pot a little bit. And then, yeah, being an aristocrat looks pretty cool. So we'll put 1 there. Maybe we'll get it, maybe we won't. And then, let's see here. Maybe I'll go with the mercenary, see if I can purchase his support. And we'll see how that goes. At this point, once everybody is done placing all of their influence tokens on their board, the shields are removed. At this point, we would go on our influence boards from left to right and top to bottom. So we would start with the general and we're going to end with the mercenaries. We're going to go here, here, and then like this to see who won each one. So we look at the general first. Green didn't try to influence the general, but yellow and blue both did. Now, yellow and blue both used blackmail, as denoted by the blackmail influence token here, but blue sweetened the pot a little bit and added a gold to it. So blue actually gets to influence the general. He pays his bribe and then takes one of his influence markers and places it in the fortress. But the general also says that you get to gain 1 support and 1 force. So the blue player would get 1 point, and then he would also gain 1 force to be used on a future turn. Then we go on to the captain. The captain says you also gain 1 support and 1 force, but you also get to influence the harbor. So we look at who influenced the captain, and all 3 of us tried to influence the captain. Yellow put a bunch of gold there. Blue put also a bunch of gold there. But green put blackmail. Blackmail beats any amount of gold. So he pays, takes 1 of his cubes, and puts it in the harbor. And then we keep going. The innkeeper, nobody tried to influence him. Magistrate, same thing. Priest, same thing. Aristocrat, we come to green. Green decided to gamble, put a gold there, and so he actually won. So he pays his gold, he gains 5 support, he gets 3 gold, and he gets to influence the plantation. So he takes 1 of his coins here and influences the plantation. The merchant, yellow player, decided to physically force the merchant to do his bidding, and so he is the only one that tried to do so. So the yellow player will get 3 support, 5 gold, and be able to influence the market. Okay, so we will influence the market right here, and yellow player gets 3 support and 5 gold. And then we keep going. The printer, green tried to influence the printer with some physical force and gold, whereas the blue player only tried to use force. So he sweetened the pot a little bit. He got control of that, and the printer simply gives 10 support. So the green player then gets 10 more support. Nobody tried to influence the rogue, spy, or apothecary, but then the green player also was able to gamble again and get the mercenary. And the mercenary grants 3 support and 1 force. So he gets his force, and then he also gets 3 more support. Then, this is the end of the turn. Now, the rules, the basic rules, state that any bribe that you levy, if it does not win, you still lose all of that money or blackmail or force that you tried to use on that thing. But there is a variant to that within the rule book that I always use. And that variant is that if you lose a bid on any one person, you do not lose whatever you tried to bid on them. The reason I always use it is because the other way can be very heavy-handed. It is possible for you to use, since you have to use all of your influence every turn, it's possible for you to use all of your influence, not win a thing, and then be left empty-handed at the end of the round. Now, at the beginning of the next round, you do gather gold for anything under 5 influence markers that you don't have. So if you don't have any influence markers, you will have 5 gold. But again, as I said earlier, gold is the lowest rung on the ladder. So it's kind of heavy-handed to lose everything. So I always play with the variant where the only time you lose your influence markers that you've used to bid on somebody is if you win. If you don't win, you get it back. All right, so at this point, using the variant, we're going to pull everything back like so. Now this person does go up to 5, and this person also goes up to 5. All right, and then a second round will begin doing the same thing as we did the first round, and the game will continue until, like I said earlier, all of these white boxes are filled. Then we count points and we see who wins. Before moving on, I'd just like to touch on some of the different spots that we didn't actually go over through that round playthrough. The Innkeeper gains you 3 support, 1 blackmail, and you get to influence the tavern. The Magistrate gains you 1 support, 1 blackmail, and allows you to influence the town hall. The Priest, of course, allows you to influence the cathedral and also gains you 6 support. The Rogue gains you 2 blackmail. The Spy, you can replace 1 influence cube with one of your own. So the Spy, if Green, for example, had influenced the Spy, they would have been able to take one of their cubes from their pool and replace another cube of their choice. So that can be useful as you go throughout the game. The Apothecary allows you to swap the cubes in any 2 influence spaces. So the Apothecary allows you to, let's say, oh, okay, I'm done with the harbor, I want to try to influence the fortress. You can take these 2 influence cubes and do that. So again, very useful as the game wears on. And then the Mercenary, you saw actually that it gains you 3 support and then 1 force. So there are a lot of different ways to finagle yourself into a powerful position in some of these different spaces on the board. And the more cunning, the more shenanigans you use, usually the better, but sometimes it can come back to bite you in the rear end. Now, as I said earlier, there are 2 expansions, I believe, that are available for Revolution. And basically, first of all, there's a 5 to 6 player expansion that gives you an orange player and a purple player color that enables you to incorporate 5 or 6 players, which does considerably change the game because it makes all the spaces a little bit more tighter on the board. But also, it gives you a new board. With more people, you kind of need more people to knock around within the city. So there are a bunch of different things here that basically there are 4 new people. There's 1 whole row added, but the Viceroy is new. You influence the palace. Well, where's the palace? The palace is right here, and it's basically an overlay that goes right here in the middle of the board like so. All right, so it replaces that little courtyard there like that. So the Viceroy allows you to influence the palace and occupy the guardhouse. And if you look down here at the bottom, it says the occupant of the guardhouse is immune to rivals' use of the Spy or the Apothecary. All right, so it's that's actually a pretty cool defensive mechanism that they added in here. New to this board is also the Messenger. It lets you add 3 support, and then you can reassign up to 2 of your cubes already on the board. So you can basically move your guys around on the board, 2 of them, every time you influence the Messenger. The Mayor is also a new guy. He influences any open space of influence. Okay, so basically, if you influence the Mayor, you can put one of your influence cubes on any available space on the board. And then finally, the Constable is a new guy. He gains you 5 support and 1 blackmail, and of course, he can only be influenced by money, as well as the mayor. The messenger is open season. Anything can influence him, as well as the viceroy. And so, as you can see, these expansions make the game a little bit more playable, especially with the number of players and the number of choices that you have on the game. Now, let's talk about what I think. So that is Revolution, folks. It's a very simple game. You can get through the rules very, very quickly and jump right into playing the game almost off the bat, even with new players. So that's one of the things that I really like about Revolution. It is a decent mid-weight, I think, gateway game, because the rules are very easy to understand. The blind bidding is not absolutely foreign, although if you go with the base game rules and not the variant, I think it can feel kind of heavy-handed on some new players. So that's you'd have to feel that out with the people you're introducing this game to. Steve Jackson Games, be honest with you, they're just not known for their deep games. And this isn't deep, but it's definitely not frag. This is a step up. It's a very good design by Philip DuBarry, and I think it's one that is well worth your checking out. I'm pretty sure, although I haven't done my homework, I apologize. All right, I did my homework for you. I just checked, and it is still available on all of the sites that I just checked. Now, of course, go check it out at coolstuff.com, coolstuffinc.com first. If I did check them, they do have some copies in stock, and then I also checked a bunch of other places on the web as well, and they also have copies in stock. So this is a readily available game. You might be able to walk into your local game store and purchase a copy there too. I don't know. You have to check that out. But I did my homework. It's available. Go check it out. As always, try before you buy if at all possible. But go check out Revolution. See you on the flip side, folks.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.